Hi everyone, my name is Ciara. I'm going to tell you a story about how I stole my dad's gold card and regretted it. Very much. Generally, my father and I were not poor. He made good money, I went to school, we didn't need anything. I didn't have a mother. They divorced a couple of years ago and she left me with my father because of a bad mania. That's what she called it. It wasn't really mania. Whenever I messed up in the family, my father would punish me right away with money. I mean, he'd take away my allowance for a week or two. It was excruciating, considering the fact that I couldn't spend a day without money or rest. All my friends were from well-to-do families. We went out almost every day because it was the only way to break up the boring life in our city. So one day, Helly and I met an amazing group of people. They were guys from France. They came over to hang out with us for the vacation. Of course, we couldn't pass up the chance to be with foreigners, especially since there were a couple of single hotties among them. We arranged to meet at a club in the evening, but when I got home, the babysitter told me to do my homework. I had a big fight with her, telling her to mind her own business. Your upbringing and studying is my responsibility. Dad is not home today, so relax, Nanny. I'm going out. I'll report it to your father. No, you won't. I chimed in on what she said, but I remembered that I hadn't asked my dad for money. I just wanted to call him, but he was ahead of me, immediately hit me with a shout. In short, it was clear. The nanny complained. I hung up the phone and went into my dad's bedroom, crying, but actually looking for something, and found it. There was a gold card on his nightstand. Yeah, I'll spend some. He won't even notice, I thought. As I left, I showed the babysitter a middle finger and walked off. We had a great time, but just as I was spreading out the bill, sort of treating my new friends, my dad texted me, "Come out." I didn't even know what that meant, but he was standing outside the club, angry, very angry. The babysitter reported that I had spent his dough by stealing his card. For that, my father punished me for a month with no allowance. I couldn't believe he'd do that. It was all because of her. If the nanny hadn't been so smart, I wouldn't have suffered. If you hadn't gone clubbing and studied, this wouldn't have happened. You're grounded. Period. A month without money is very hard. I deeply regretted what I had done and promised my father that I would never do that again. 3 weeks went by and Helly started whining that we hadn't gone out in a while. I reminded her of my punishment. She had a wealthy family, but she was never given dough to go out, so I paid for the clubs and she paid for lunches at school. Run away from home tonight. No, money, You should think of something or borrow it from your father secretly so he doesn't know, and then give it back to him tomorrow. With what money? My dad is coming home tomorrow. After him and my mom got divorced, he's been giving me some money. My dad keeps all his money on the cards. So we'll put it on a card. Okay, then tonight at 7 p.m. at the club. I'll tell him I'm spending the night at your place. I got home, and my dad was gone again. So was his card. I looked for a long time, but I couldn't find it. I was getting frustrated. But then Helly called and said that her dad had transferred the money to her card and we could safely go. I got excited and left the house. Of course, the babysitter heard me and called me over. Like, where are you going? Sleep over at Helly's. Have you told your father? No, you will. Not anymore. You tell him. Fine. Then I saw that gold card of my father's under my nanny's feet. I couldn't understand why it was there. While the nanny was distracted by the phone, I grabbed it and ran away. On the way, my dad called me angrily. He didn't believe I was just having a sleepover. Yes, he knows me too well. Dad threatened to come and check. We started fighting, and he reminded me that he has no trust left in me because of the theft. Honestly, I didn't want to spend the money from the card. I wanted to put it back, but after arguing with my dad, I realized that he still thinks I'm a thief. So why not conform? I walked into the club and I was like, everything on me! Everyone started drinking and eating and having fun, partying, and I just enjoyed the attention, albeit bought. Anyway, when it came to pay the bill, I was told the card was empty. That was my moment of shame. I had to pawn my pancake iPhone so he wouldn't be left scrubbing the floors. Angry and tired, I decided to spend the night at home. And when I arrived, it was deep into the night. But through the darkness, I saw my babysitter dragging valuable vases out of the house and giving them to some guy. To be honest, I wanted to ask, but then I realized that I didn't care because I had my own problems. I sat outside for a while and then went inside and straight to bed. In the morning, I was awakened by a loud scream from my dad.
You stole my card again?
What? What do you mean?
You stole it again!
What else could I do? You robbed me of my money for a month. I can't hang around the house anymore. Now I'm a thief in your eyes forever.
You're grounded for another 2 months. How could you spend all the money? All the money from the card?
Wait, Dad, but the card was empty yesterday.
Yes, because you spent it.
There was almost $16,000 on there. I swear, Dad, your card was lying on the kitchen floor and was empty, so I had to pawn my phone. I can prove it. Let's go to the club.
Then who wrote off all the money?
Then I suddenly remembered the suspicious nanny who was dragging things out of the house. I was silent, and I asked Dad to come downstairs. As soon as we did, I asked him, "Did you sell our vases?"
No. Why? They were so expensive. You know I like them. And where are they?
Dad, there is something I have to tell you. After we talked, we went over to Nanny as if unintentionally. She was making breakfast in the kitchen. We sat down to eat, and Dad turned to me.
Ciara, how could you steal the card? Spend the money? And you took the vases too?
It's not my fault. You didn't give me any money. What should I do?
I'm afraid that's the last straw. I have to take drastic measures.
What? What do you mean?
I'll send you to an orphanage. I'm sorry, but nothing I can do will fix you.
At that moment, the nanny's plates fell out of her hands. She was nervous, worried because she was sensitive herself. To be honest, in the many years of work, I have never noticed her antics. I think something happened, since she was so mean nowadays. We acted out an emotional scene in front of her to get her emotional. My dad and I were yelling at each other so much that it almost made my eyes pop out. You know, I was crying, rubbing my eyes to cry, and when my dad picked up the phone and pretended to call a boarding school, the nanny gave in.
It's me!
What?
What do you mean?
Don't kick your daughter out. I did it. It was me who stole the money from your card. It was me who sold the vases. Forgive me, punish me, but don't kick your daughter out. It's all because of me.
And now I need more details.
We had a very long conversation with her. According to Nanny, her son was having a big problem. They hadn't been in touch for years after he had disappeared, but now he'd shown up for the first time and tried to steal her money. Her son asked for help, said he was in debt, and if he didn't pay it back, he'd get killed. I understand there's no excuse for what I did, but your child had nothing to do with it. It was me. My son, I helped him. I should have found another way, but I was desperate. I did a terrible thing. I took advantage of the situation. I framed your daughter. I thought she would live a couple of months out of pocket and everything would be fine. But then my son came again, and that's when I sold the vases. I'm sorry. The babysitter cried for a long time. My dad and I understood that her actions should be punished, legally. But she had worked for us for so many years. So, we decided to do things differently. My father figured out who the guys were that were pressuring her son. He hired a couple of anonymous jocks who returned our vases, and they did it under the guise of common theft. Well, there was no way to get the money back from the card, but Dad forgave the money and fired her. But we didn't put her in jail. We just kicked her out of the house. Honestly, I was so proud of my father because not everyone would do that. I was angry with her too, but when I heard her reason, at least it made sense. I made a firm decision that I would never lie or steal again, so this story will always be remembered. And what do you say, friends? What do you think we should have done? Has anything like this ever happened to you? And have you ever stolen from your parents? You can tell us about it in the comments below the video. Also, tell me guys, did you like my story? Write your opinion about it Don't forget to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.